polite and they refuse.
He cannot act.
That's rough. Okay.
Does that mean that we're on? We might possibly be on the air.
Let's hope we're
Hello,
not.
ladies and gentlemen. If we're on, we don't have a monitor, so we're not sure.
We got a teleprompter on.
Where it says, please stand by.
It would be nice if somebody would tell us something. Well, if you're watching The Confusion, this is the Fun Show in one of its unusual openings.
They told us we were going to have a picture.
We're looking around at all the new equipment we have here in our big studio.
We have a lot of new equipment.
Wait a minute, he's looking.
Over here we
don't
have
give them away.
our RoboCam.
Are we on? We're on.
That's looking at us.
We got to do our opening song. Now we know we're on. We're on.
Michael's giving you the weather report.
Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Yay.
We're going to have one more storm. It's going to be a little earlier than the memorable April Fool's Day storm, but it's on the way. This is the Fun Show. Behind the keyboard is our master and mentor, Michael Sallen. Sitting between us is Kiera Miner. And I'm Arch O'Riley, and here we are.
And a new member of the Colonial Organization.
Yes, that's true.
What are you going to do?
No, I've just been accepted into the Society of Colonial Wars.
Excellent.
Yes.
Did you get a certificate?
Yes, to represent Governor Edward Winslow. And it is kind of a mystery to me because there were no wars while Governor Edward Winslow was alive.
That's true.
But that's the rules. But it's better to say Governor Edward Winslow than to say Governor Josiah Winslow, because even though he's my ancestor, I'm not too pleased with him.
Noted.
So,
well, congratulations.
I was going to join this organization, but they haven't decided whether or not I am. It's called the Broken Down Masters, Schoolmasters.
Yes.
Broken down, old broken down. Yeah, I was thinking.
BSM.
You're going to start that on your own. You're going to lead it.
It's the BSM.
The BSM.
Yes.
Nice.
Okay.
Well done.
Otherwise known as the Boston School Mentors.
Yeah. So.
Incidentally, speaking about broken down and wars and one thing and another, did you notice that there was an article today about Whiskey 7? Whiskey 7 is a C-47 which took part in dropping the paratroopers on Samar-Glaze during D-Day, which is returning to drop paratroopers over Samar-Glaze on the 70th anniversary of D-Day.
Wow.
The June of 7th.
So this is going to be a 72-year-old airplane flying.
That's what I was going to say. I worry about stuff.
Are they going to be dropping 72-year-olds?
Well, actually, the oldest or the only surviving guy who jumped from that plane on D-Day is now 89 years old. And he's going to be there, but he's going to be on the ground to watch.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Because jumping out of a Goonie bird at 89 is
probably
just
not the best idea.
But I think riding in the thing now is
Yes.
more dangerous than it was then, even without anybody shooting at you.
Well,
you know?
George H.W. Bush, he jumped out he jumped out of planes on his birthday.
Well,
about 5 years ago he started.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Tied to another parachute.
Right.
Yeah, that's how you usually do it the first time.
Tied to a jump master. Yeah.
It's called tandem. We did it tandem.
Yeah.
Have you guys jumped
and
out of a plane before?
They tell you.
I have, but
you have?
he has.
You have not?
I have not. Why leave a perfectly good plane?
It'd be an adventure.
H.W. had to jump out of his because he got his shot from under him.
Well, yeah, that's what they say. Okay, I guess he did.
Well, that's how they market it anyway.
Very good.
No, I don't question.
How do you feel about casinos?
That was my mine. I was going to ask you how you felt about casinos.
Well, I asked you first,
All
then
right.
I can answer second, and he can join up and bat us both around a little.
I always abstain.
You
But
abstain.
I always abstain, like I can't make up my mind. But the truth is, you know, I still think of it as a job maker, and that if people want to spend their time gambling, that's their choice.
Well, Walsh, the mayor, says that Boston is a host city, and they should get money, and then the people.
Well, of course, obviously they should.
Yeah.
The interesting thing.
Wait a
is
minute. The Indian crowd said, "What about all that horsemen over in Suffolk Downs? Who gets to share that?" Nobody talks about all that.
Well, if you bag it up, you could probably sell it at the home center. You know,
Absolutely.
What were you going to
sort of
say?
thing.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, the question is, who do you bet gets it, Everett or Revere?
Revere. I'm going to
Really?
take a bet. I'm going with Revere. I have no inside knowledge whatsoever. It's a cold bet.
Well, Everett has a lot of toxic stuff there on the riverbank.
That's true.
When are we going to find out? When are we going to know the results
That's a
of this
very
bet?
good question.
I don't know, but I'm intending to go down to the hearing tomorrow and speak against Revere.
Okay.
Obviously, Boston is a host community. As Walsh has so aptly said, the only entrance to this casino is through East Boston, and a building without a door is not a casino. In other words, if you couldn't go through East Boston to get there, there'd be nobody there.
I hope we're going out on the air.
Well,
I
who
don't-
knows?
I
Who
don't-
knows?
I think we got confirmation.
We got a
We
confirmation.
did. We got a thumbs up. Just because we can't see ourselves
Okay.
to check
Well,
our
all
hair
right.
and
You
stuff,
say-
we're
you
just going
say
to have
so.
to.
All right.
We're out there, I promise.
All right, so how's my hair look? Is that all right?
Well, you know, here, hold on. There you go.
Oh,
there you go.
okay.
All right, good. There you go. There you go.
I couldn't do that for myself.
Have you got another uniform you're going to wear?
Ooh.
No,
You know?
No, why not?
no. How many uniforms would I have?
Well,
I don't know.
Well, you could have
you're
from the
not
Civil
Knox
War, you could
anymore.
have something,
Exactly. Thank you.
That's a nice uniform.
Actually, it's very interesting because for all the ancestors I had in the Revolutionary War, I've only found one ancestor in the Civil War, and he only appears to have spent like 6 months in the war or something.
Oh, okay.
In the
That's long enough.
I was like, is that not admirable enough for you?
First Massachusetts
Kim.
Volunteers.
What?
First Massachusetts Volunteers, yeah.
Well, that's something.
So he was the guy who owned the bookstore over at Harvard.
Oh, well, that's good.
Is that your uncle, did you say?
No, it was my
Cousin.
great grandfather.
Okay.
Great-grandfather, okay.
My other great grandfather, Lincoln, asked to be Surgeon General of the Union Army, and he said no.
You know, you're very historical.
I know.
I'm
my
hysterical.
goodness.
I'm hysterical.
He's hysterically
come
I
from-
open it
historical.
up for him.
I
All
come from a hysterical family.
right. Okay. Well, I have to say that the Bruins won a 12th game.
12 straight.
Is that what was going on last night in my downstairs neighbor's house?
That's
Oh,
what
they
was-
were whooping it up?
Oh,
were
it
they?
was insane. I'm like,
It's
it was
probably-
insane.
It's probably more likely that they were carrying on about one of the basketball games.
That's what I thought it was originally, but then I
this
thought,
season
no,
it's
it's
the
the Bruins.
basketball. Harvard won a game again this year, which
Yeah,
was
But they lost to Michigan.
Who played last night?
lost to Michigan. Well, the number of teams played last night. One team played Wichita State, who had arrived at this point undefeated.
Unbeaten.
All right, who
Unbeaten.
played around the 10, 11 o'clock time slot? Because that's when the most racket was going on.
I don't.
Or were the Bruins winning at that
Well, they were
particular
talking
time?
about it late. They talked about it very late.
I don't know. I was.
Okay.
I might just have to knock on the door and
But you
ask.
didn't. The Celtics keep on losing, so it really does. You know, they doesn't matter.
Even things out, right?
and the Red Sox aren't doing much
Well,
either.
but they gave Big Poppy $16 million,
Well, 15 and a half. Okay.
which
was
is
due.
pretty impressive. That's $100,000 a game.
Wow.
What
If
do you?
anyone deserves it, he
And-
deserves
He
it.
and of
could take
course-
you out and buy you a steak or something.
Hey, listen.
Caviar.
I don't think my fiance would appreciate that, even
I
if it
think-
was Big Poppy.
I think that's pretty impressive that you get $100,000 a game at the time that you're batting .054.
He says he
Yeah.
doesn't do much in summer spring training. He doesn't do anything. Well, we'll
Good
see.
thing he says that.
He's,
Yeah.
he's loyal to the Red Sox, and that,
He is.
that
He
is
is
a big
loyal
deal.
as long as they pay.
Yeah, right.
Well, isn't
right,
that the truth
right.
for pretty much everybody?
I don't think I give you much credit for loyalty at $16 million.
All right, fine. He talks a good game about it. his
Yes,
loyalty,
he does.
That's for sure.
And they all say the same thing. Well, it's business. It's business.
Well, sadly it is.
I remember from my youth, way back when
It is way.
there was a rain delay at my home team, and they announced that they had traded one of the venerable veteran players, and half the people in the ballpark got up and walked out, and the people never returned to the ballpark, so much so that at the end of the season they had to sell the ball club.
Wow.
That was loyalty.
Babe
Yes.
No, Enos Slaughter.
Well, but that's out there where you could go.
Right, Enos Slaughter. Enos Slaughter, who was
A great player.
a very, very big part of one of the Red Sox losses in the World Series historically.
I'm gonna have to read some sports books to keep up with you guys, and some history books, and some political books.
At the same time, we're talking like 1948.
Yes.
So that will
But
be
you
said
know,
all
I
day.
feel like I should know everything.
Well,
No, that's my job.
Fine, but I'm not at that age where I know all the current stuff either, so I'm kind of lost somewhere in the middle.
I was reading about an Indian village in India.
In India.
And they found out they have these limestone hills surrounding the village.
Okay.
And they're not that far from, it turns out, from Bangladesh.
Okay.
And Bangladesh has a French company called Lafarge,
Okay.
which makes cement. Limestone, when it's ground down, is one of the products that goes into the cement that the Lafarge company.
What was Bangladesh before it was Bangladesh?
Part of India.
East Pakistan.
Well, it's true. Yes.
East Pakistan.
But even before that, it was
Right,
India.
right.
Okay. All right.
Before there was a Pakistan.
Wait, what's the point,
Well, anyways,
though?
the
You have
point,
a point.
the point of this is all these people who had little farms are now busy in the hills around their farms with hammers and
Grinding up
drills,
limestone.
chopping limestone out of the hills. And then, as a result of all this, well, they're making
Some
a
of
lot
us
of
call
money
that
from the
quarrying, but
limestone.
Okay.
And they're all doing
Mining.
well. But,
Erosion.
yes,
All right.
the limestone dust is coming down, and guess where it's going?
The water.
Into the water
Yes, a
supply.
river that they drink, the kids and the adults drink the drinking water. It lands in this river.
They must have really strong bones with all that calcium.
Keep it
Or
up.
cancer.
Well, I didn't like this story.
I thought you were going to tell me that this was Washington State, where a whole bunch of people just got killed by a mudslide.
Well, that's pretty
Is that what
sad
happened?
too.
Yeah.
7.5
Terrible.
inches of rain water came down.
Mudslide, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, mudslide.
It was like an avalanche.
That's insane.
Now this has been happening in other parts of the world where they deforest everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
can see. But here is our own state of Washington. I was surprised.
Which we always think of as sort of
Sacros.
environmentalist central.
Right, sacrosanct.
You know.
Okay. Then I was reading. I saw a guy came home from work tonight. It showed him on television. His kid was yelling, "Dad, Dad, come over here!" And he went over, and there was this a white-tailed deer, a good-sized, big one.
Stuck in their fence.
Yeah, stuck in the fence. Yeah. And the father got the legs loose from the fence, and the deer ran
And off
Oh,
it bounded
good.
into the woods.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, though, that was clearly a prototypical white-tailed deer, because
Those are
that
big-
deer, that tail was about that long.
Yeah, that was a big
Really?
deer. You didn't see
It was
it.
a picket
No.
fence. The deer had tried to jump it, and he hadn't cleared with his hind legs.
Oh, so he was stuck at an angle?
He was
On
like
the
this
other
with his-
side, hanging
with his
down.
rear legs showing.
Oh, how heartbreaking.
Well,
no,
I'm really glad I didn't see it. Well,
actually,
it was hard-
bounced out fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
once he got,
Yeah.
someone released him.
Right,
But up until
right.
that moment, it was heartbreaking.
Okay.
How
But-
long was he there?
Well, they don't know.
See, it's heartbreaking from the moment it happened till the moment he was rescued.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we should say that that general that we were talking about for weeks, and the sexual assault case.
It's not funny. That's
he
not why I'm
agreed to
laughing,
most.
everybody.
He agreed to most of the charges, but he got off. He didn't have to go to prison.
He got off with a fine.
He got $20,000 fine. Okay.
Did he lose his job?
No, I haven't seen that.
We know how big a fine that was if we knew how much generals got paid.
Well, they get paid a lot. Did we already establish this? I'll reestablish it next week.
Yes, we did establish it. I was trying to give you credit for doing the research.
Okay.
right.
Sorry, I missed it.
What was something like $125,000 or more like
Some
that?
sort of
something
ridiculous
like that.
sum of money.
Ladies and
That's a lot
gentlemen,
of
it
money.
is now time for the BIG Unrehearsed Thespian Society's presentation for this week. From somewhere in the vault, has
Somewhere.
emerged a golden oldie with the title Global. Global.
Okay, action. Remember your geography class?
It's called social studies now.
Remember the whole world on the big ball?
Studying cultures and societies was more important then.
But those big wall maps were great.
If you say so.
I do. I did love spinning that globe.
Yeah, well, the teacher didn't appreciate it much.
And you.
Using a finger to stop it with my eyes closed.
Yeah,
Well, it's all
plan.
globalization now.
Satellites for communication and power.
Okay, but we can still read.
And we're still fighting in Afghanistan and Iraq. Well, we got people there.
Those train bombings in Madrid.
Wasn't there a club blown up in Indonesia?
And Argentina got it 10 years ago.
The U.S. embassies in Africa.
Okay, we get the message.
Islamic terrorists are attacking the world.
French critics wonder if their vaunted culture is declining.
The French, they refuse to join our coalition.
Chirac thumbs his nose at us.
Millions of Muslims live in France now.
That's just cheap labor for French businesses.
As long as France's economy is bustling.
Yeah, but it ain't anymore.
And tourism is way down.
Big deal. Who cares?
Well, we saved their bacon in World War I.
Yeah, well, we liberated their country in World War II.
They surrendered to the Nazis in 1941.
And now we're drinking California wine.
That's hurting them.
But they love McDonald's and Starbucks.
And Islamic murderers understand geography.
The Moors ruled a big part of Spain for 700 years.
Did you know the Basques didn't commit those mass killings in Madrid?
And the Kurds are not the insurgents?
No. They're welcomed from Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia.
And the money flows from international banking.
Of course, the French want some of that commerce.
Yeah, it's not guns and butter anymore, it's guns and money.
Are the Arab leaders liberals?
The Republicans?
I don't know, but the French might be.
Well, they're busy in Africa.
All those former French colonies.
Yeah, they brought Western civilization, French style.
To Vietnam, Syria, and West Africa.
And the British Empire.
Let's see, India, Hong Kong, Singapore, America, Canada, West Indies, Australia, New Zealand.
South Africa, Zimbabwe.
The Europeans.
Go ahead.
Yeah?
Go ahead.
No.
The Europeans are busy.
Yeah, they're busy bees. And they all had a piece of China.
But can our school kids still find Iraq on the map?
Or maybe even on a globe.
Well, how about AIDS, HIV?
You mean the big conference?
Well, it's a global epidemic and has been.
So is poverty.
Hey, who are you, a socialist?
An anarchist?
Or a Marxist at least.
Oh, how do you like Fidel?
But Red China is capitalist.
Ask Henry Kissinger.
They just counterfeit everything we create.
But it's a global economy.
And Chinese products are cheap.
Yeah, and the market rules.
I guess.
What about the rest of the world?
They like cheap too.
But not prescription drugs.
Yeah, dangerous and deadly.
So we should have the kids study Chinese and Arabic.
If the teachers can pass the loyalty test, of course.
And the Hispanics?
That's this hemisphere.
Huh? What? What's that?
Yeah, just an idea.
A big landmass.
Ah.
Kids have to understand latitude and longitude.
Well, at least our troops have to read maps.
Even AAA triptychs have maps.
Yeah, But MapQuest gives you a printout of directions.
And there's the in-car responder.
I still like the classroom globes.
Yeah, if you remember, that could lead to trouble, fights.
And those big, beautiful wall maps.
Just wallpaper now.
That's all old stuff.
Yeah, the internet has it all.
Still, Iraq is 6,000 miles away.
Which way?
Wise guy.
Well, do kids use skateboards there?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Probably made in China.
Yeah, and the bikes too.
Well, that sounds like geography.
Poor Columbus.
Remember when everybody was convinced the world was flat?
Maybe it is.
Maybe it is.
Blackout.
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 Okay.
Voila.
Well, you know, Michelle Obama is in China.
Doing
She
what?
is.
First lady,
What's she doing?
vacationing.
Well, visiting.
And the Herald was listing how much money her room costs. I don't know about that. Her hotel room.
She can stay
Why
anywhere
can't
she wants for
she's
as much
in the
money as she
presidential
wants.
suite in this hotel. Why shouldn't she?
Exactly. That's absolutely where she should be. They
What?
need to just find something else
They
to
think
talk about.
The Herald thinks she should have a single with a trundle bed for her daughters.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Stay at the
Yeah.
Holiday Inn,
Yeah,
you know,
I
the
thought
Chinese
mother was
Holiday
there.
Inn.
No.
Yeah.
Motel 6.
Exactly. Yeah. That's because that would suit them.
Can you imagine a Chinese Motel 6?
No. Mm-mm. Not at all.
And
It'd
the
be scary.
Chinese,
You need a whip and a chair to control the bed bugs.
Chinese say that urbanization policy is now brings their country to 53% of China is urbanized out of
Wow.
1.3 billion people. 53 is now, and
Is
wait,
that a percentage of population or territory?
population.
Okay.
And the Chinese will continue building new cities, and to do that, they have to drive poor farmers off government-owned land. They can't own land in that society or culture. I don't understand. And the buildings are being put up by capitalists, I think. I don't know
Most
how
likely.
this works.
That would make sense.
Well, I don't know. It
And
seems,
don't they still have limitations? You can only have one child or something?
yes.
I think so.
And,
Which is one of the big arguments that was advanced by some parents out there in Malaysia. That's why they were so worried about their kids.
Oh, because it was the only
'cause
kid
they're
they
the
were
only
allowed.
kid.
There was the one, there was a son, the only son or daughter that they had
my
that was on that
goodness.
plane,
Yeah.
which, as we know, that now the government out there says it's gone, it's finished.
Yeah. But we still don't know what that's based on.
Well, they have all those satellite pictures.
Yeah, but as
So
I
they
say,
know that it's gone down, but we don't know why it's gone down.
but we don't
where-
know why they know
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
we
mean, it's
don't.
just, they haven't given any new information. They've just announced a
so they
new
could be
conclusion.
speculating.
They haven't picked up any of the parts.
They
or
haven't picked up
debris.
anything yet.
Maybe it was
No.
just to
We don't. It's
So-
right.
distract
whole
the
thing
public
is,
for a little bit.
It's interesting, though. This is probably the first time in a very long time that Chinese government airplanes have been flying out of Australia,
Yeah, I
which
think,
is
yeah,
which
that's-
is quite interesting.
That is. It's very strange.
Incidentally, I went to the theater the other day and I saw The Seagull,
yeah.
Anton Chekhov.
Tell them it's a play.
I'm what is the
It's a
seagull?
play.
I didn't want to
It's a play.
interrupt, but
It's
what
a
is
play.
okay.
It's a play by Anton Chekhov.
Okay.
It's the first
Okay.
of his major plays, and the new translation and the interpretation of this director has emphasized the comedic portion. Anton Chekhov is usually thought of as very dark and brooding and,
Okay.
and obsessed with
Internalizing,
depression and
Okay.
things.
It's a
And
little
so,
heavy.
So they've tried to turn it into a comedy. It stars Kate Burton.
Richard Burton's daughter.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
a famous actor.
and
Dead.
and for better or for worse, and the character with the most lines in the whole play, I don't know if you'd call him the lead, probably not, but the character with the most lines in the play is played by Kate's son. And unfortunately,
Her
Kate's,
real life son?
her real life son, and
He doesn't-
unfortunately,
he-
he should be in a community theater somewhere learning to act.
Gotcha. What, weren't we keeping that on the down low, and now you just put it out there for
now I wanna
everybody?
bring
Now
up
everyone
something.
knows.
I'm a theater person, you know.
You're
Yeah,
allowed,
he
you're
is.
allowed
He's
to say those
he's
things.
got the,
I
he's
get
got
it.
the ticket to go with it. But anyways,
Also, unfortunately, I used to be a friend of Kate's.
They have
Used to be, past tense.
They have these e-cigarettes. You guys know about?
Yes, the
cigarettes?
electronic cigarettes.
Yeah.
Oh, e-cigarettes.
And they have liquid nicotine
Yes.
in
Yeah.
the cigarette.
Yeah.
And when you pull on them, they
The
have an
end
LED
lights.
on
Yep.
the end that lights up.
Yep, I have a friend
So
who
silly.
uses one of those. It's
Well,
really
They're very strange.
amusing.
now they've worked it out so that you can buy the nicotine in various bottles, and it comes in little bottles, and you can squirt that into this chamber of the cigarette. You don't have to throw the thing away. The only thing is, they're pretty and they taste good, and kids are taking them,
Of course.
and naturally
And
it's
getting
toxic.
Getting
Yeah.
hooked on nicotine.
Well, it's
Ridiculous.
toxic stuff. It can
Yeah.
kill them.
Nicotine is toxic, and the
That's
thing
the
is,
point. But this is pure.
the
So,
thing is,
okay,
if
it's
you
even
take the
worse.
refills and you were to decide to ingest the refill, it very likely would kill you.
Well, there you are.
You know,
Okay.
if instead of putting it into their e-cigarette,
Yeah.
they decided to mainline it,
That
It
could
could-
be a great
it could kill them.
solution for, what is that? Euthanasia?
overpopulation.
Exactly. You
Well,
know?
Putin could try
Well, yeah,
one. He
exactly.
smokes,
You
I
know?
think.
You can give them out occasionally to
He smokes.
selective
That's funny.
people.
I've never seen Putin smoking.
I
Do-
haven't.
do
but
they
I think
still
I
make
heard he
the-
did.
Do they still make those Russian cigarettes like back from our day?
Yeah, that much tobacco and that much.
and a cardboard
that's
tube
too
about
funny.
this long.
2
They were very
minutes,
strange.
Okay, all right.
They were very strange.
Well, the one thing I saw again, I saw this thing on PBS or Smithsonian Channel about Amazon arsonists in Brazil.
Okay.
On the Amazon River.
Are these very strong women?
No, these were guys from America who were fired.
Burning the jungle in order
No,
to...
no. They were fire department people who would come down there, like you go from Milwaukee in Nicaragua. They went down there to help the fire department in the Amazon put out the fires that were being day and night. They were putting out, and the reason for that, the arson, was that they want to drive these very primitive people out.
That's awful.
And then the land will be agricultural. It's a sad, horrible business.
Horrible.
Yeah,
We'll
and
have to come back to this next
And
week
it
and discuss
impacts
this
us
further.
because it will have an exceedingly negative quality on worldwide air quality.
Yeah. We're coming back to this one next week.
next week.
All right, we got to say goodnight to Irene because we're out of time.
Good night, Irene.
Good
night, Irene. Irene, good night. Irene, good night. We'll see you in our dreams.
Good night, Irene. Good night, everybody, from the Fun Show here on BIG Television, Big TV in Brookline.
And don't.
We'll see you next time, same big station.
And we didn't even talk about the Brookline tax increase, which we're going to have to vote on.
We're going to do that next week. And I think we are fading to black.
Okay.